From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
Sunday, March 14th, and the debut of Early Mornings LALATE returns. Your $14 third stimulus check was sent out on Friday. Millions of Americans have gotten it. But who has not gotten it? And why is a March 16th date, 17th and 18th, now circulating across the country? Why are some banks processing the funds now and other banks aren't? And why are thin banks suddenly developing the repertoire of getting money right away, while big banks are not sending it out at all? The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and it's a big morning with coffee brewing. All I need is a little bit of bacon. As Early Mornings kicks into high gear and returns starting right now. How are you? It's a big day with a lot of exciting news across the land. The coffee is brewing, the toast is toasting, and Early Mornings is back, baby. How are you? I'm really excited for you. As the $1,400 third stimulus check is landing in a lot of bank accounts. I'll have all those details as more. Meantime, what's going on with the big banks? And when would you get your stimulus check? And why is where you're located or what benefits you receive or your name, your state, not a factor in when you're getting a stimulus check? I'll have all those details and more as Early Mornings returns. But first, subscribe to this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. I don't want you to miss a single moment of recording across the land. If you saw the breaking details yesterday, I broke it while it happened. Early Mornings is back in the lineup, and shortly returning as well is Evenings LALATE. So thank you for your pushes and your comments. Your programming slots are returning. Also, like this video. If you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. The member link is at the top of the chat. All right, let's get to the details. First, the $1,400 third stimulus check. What's going on here? Well, on Thursday, the White House confirmed it would go out this weekend, and I was the first and only to report worldwide that the stimulus checks would start to land on Friday. In fact, the #1 financial news network, of which we're #2 behind, said that stimulus checks would start to arrive on Monday. Untrue. A lot of viewers of this channel started to receive the stimulus check on Friday, and this was across the land, whether on the East Coast or the West Coast, whether by the sea or by the sand. A lot of viewers from both sides across the country were receiving stimulus checks. And the receipt of the stimulus check was not an indication of you, but an indication of your bank. Why is this important? Because ultimately, stimulus is not determined by these factors like where you're located, but rather by the bank you choose. And that bank I'm going to detail for you in a second. Here is what you need to know. 1, the receipt of your stimulus check is not determined by any of these factors. Who you are or your last name, or where you're located, or whether you're on benefits, or whether you're on this type of benefit versus that type of benefit, or whether you are in a state on one side of the country, or whether you're a state on the other side of the country. None of these factors determine how quickly you get a stimulus check. Only one factor determines how quickly you get it, and it's the name of the bank you do business with. We saw this under prior stimulus packages, where banks did things faster and other banks did things slower. And ultimately, they would come up with every excuse in the book about it, but it was basically the bank. The bank is fast and other banks are slow. We saw this permeate on Friday as hundreds of viewers of this channel got their stimulus check, and on Saturday as other hundreds of viewers got their stimulus check as well. Why did some get it and not others? Because of the bank they bank with. Let me tell you what's going on. Certain financial fin apps like Cash App and Chime have already paid out their viewers. Other viewers that shop at big banks or credit unions or local banks have reported receiving the stimulus check as well. But for some reason, a series of particular big banks have decided not to pay the stimulus check. And their date that they are giving is March 17th. Here's what we know. 1, March 17th serves no actual significance anywhere. Number 2, there's no explanation why funds would be received and not released to March 17th. Number 3, there's no way around it. In fact, one major bank, well, actually 2 major banks, were trending on Twitter yesterday because of controversy over the subject matter. These banks were subject to controversy under the first PPP round, when the PPP went live and they didn't have it, and they had no explanation why they didn't have it. This time, it's much the same. One of the big banks said this following statement, that they're waiting to release the funds based upon the effective date provided by Treasury. Untrue. The effective date is the date at which the funds are sent out, which in this case was Friday. Then they said that Treasury is sending payments in different phases. Also untrue. The push of the stimulus checks was one event that occurred on Friday. The electronic push occurred on Friday. There is not different phases of stimulus electronic disbursements. Rather, there's one phase for electronic, one phase for paper, and another phase for debit cards. So it's not particularly clear what they're doing. But here's another thing you're only going to hear from this channel. The same big banks that are talking about the March 17th date are the same big banks that were collectively under fire in 2020 for being late to the game on the PPP round. So it looks like similar banks that use similar processes are saying the same thing as they did before. What do you need to know? You need to know that your receipt of the funds is not dependent upon anything besides your bank, and that ultimately all the stimulus checks of the household will go to the head of the household. If the husband and wife and 2 kids' taxes all appear on the husband as the joint filer with his name first, the checks will all go to him. How many checks will you get? Depends on who you ask. The stimulus package, by some accounts, limits the household to 4. Some viewers have reported getting 6 stimulus checks in a household. Yes, a lot have reported getting 5 stimulus checks in a household. Unparticularly clear. The thing you need to know is that the push of all the stimulus checks has occurred. It's just the receipt of the stimulus checks remains an issue. We would expect that some viewers receive stimulus checks on different days because it's processing and then there needs to be release, or that some would show pending for a day or 2 because different banks pend money for different amounts. But in this case, we actually have banks not even showing the pending of the payment and then saying the payment won't show up even pending until the 17th. Really unclear. In all the years of reporting, I have never seen anything that simply makes no sense and is actually not being explained by the people who are using that date, the banks. Now, if you have gotten the payment of the stimulus checks and you are missing a stimulus check, what do you do? Or what if you want to track that stimulus check across the land? What do you do? Or if you believe that you should have gotten the stimulus check by now, what do you do? I'm going to go over all those details right now as Early Morning LALATE continues. First, let's go over who should have received the electronic disbursement of the stimulus checks by now. 3 groups. 1, people who are on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits. If you receive your electronic disbursements every month, this should be you. You will receive electronic receipt. Next, if you receive your first and second stimulus electronically, you will receive this one electronically. Congratulations. And finally, third, if you filed a 2020 tax return that lists an electronic bank account and the tax return has been processed, not pending, but processed, you may also qualify in this electronic disbursement round. There you go. Now, just because you're in the electronic disbursement round doesn't mean the stimulus check would land today. Again, it's dependent upon your bank. What happens if you received 3 stimulus checks, but the household you live in is 4? Namely, husband, wife, 2 kids, but you only got husband, wife, 1 kid stimulus check. There appears to no longer currently be a fix to it other than filing a tax return. IRS has not given guidance how to fix missing 3rd stimulus checks, but they said the missing 2nd stimulus check can be done by a tax return filed requesting that as a missing stimulus check. Presumably, that's how you're going to do the 3rd stimulus check. Now, if you filed the 2020 tax return, then do you have to do an amended tax return? Potentially, yes. Let's turn to the next question that a lot of viewers have already started to ask, which is, well, if I don't see the stimulus check today, when's the next day I might see it? Well, the answer is very obvious. Today, Sunday, is not a banking day. So banks don't process money between Saturday and Sunday. So no funds will show up today, Sunday, if they didn't show up on Saturday. So there will likely, unless something very peculiar, which I have never heard of in all my years of reporting, there is no situation in which you'll see an account post a check today if it did not post yesterday. Again, Sunday is not a day in which they process payments. Here's another thing to know. There were certain strange urban legends circling yesterday, and among them was that IRS sent out money on Saturday. You can't send out electronic disbursement of funds on a Saturday. There is no way to do that. For example, if you went to deposit a check in your bank on Saturday, it will not post on Sunday. It will also not post on Monday because Saturday is not a banking day. Banks cannot clear the funds. It will post on Tuesday. So that, I guess, of course, is an urban legend. Sunday, today, you will not see any new payments appear. Monday is the next day in which you would see payments appear. So who could likely see stimulus appearing on Monday? And how can you know if it's you? And how is the best way to determine if you are the next to receive a stimulus check? And what if you don't? And what day should you worry if that stimulus check is still not there? I have all those details as Early Mornings LA continues shortly. But first, here is a little commercial break about the community page and today's programming schedule. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big morning, and I'm really excited for you. If you have not hit that subscribe button, hit it right now. You don't want to miss a minute of recordings throughout the day. You don't want to miss when checks are landing or how checks are landing. There's a lot of fake narratives, and there's a lot of true news, and you don't want to miss a single minute. When the leading broadcaster of financial news reports that stimulus checks won't start appearing until Monday, and they start appearing on Friday, it's indication that maybe you should be tuning in here. Thank you for joining me on Early Mornings LA. Back in the programming schedule. You asked for it, and it's returned. Let's get to the other details. When should you be concerned about the stimulus check not appearing? When would your stimulus check appear? And can you seek or track the stimulus check? Let me go over all those details. First, a stimulus check for electronic receipt not received by the end of next week should start to be the issue of concern. Stimulus check is not late, missing, or anything of the sort by the middle of next week. But by the end of next week into the next week, it should be a great concern if you have not seen it. But the biggest indicator of when you would get your stimulus check is the following. Asking other people if they who go to your same bank have gotten electronic receipt of your stimulus check. The way you know when you're getting your stimulus check in your bank account is when other people who go to your bank also have received the funds. Now, I don't mean the actual location of your bank, but that bank as a whole. If you go to Bank of Financial number 101, and other people also go to it in a different state and they got the stimulus check, but you haven't, then look throughout the day because yours would likely be coming when they got theirs. The best indicator of when you're getting a stimulus check is when other people who bank at your bank got their stimulus check. Now let's turn to when you should be concerned. If you have heard enough people that go to your bank have gotten their electronic disbursements of their stimulus check and you have not, and it's been several days, not several hours, but many days, and people that go to your bank have gotten their check and you have not, then there's an issue of concern. I think we're far, far away yet from that date. Then let's go to tracking the stimulus check, which ultimately is going to be a laugh a minute across the board. Why? Because there's not one, not two, but 3 or 4 instruments, none of which work. And no matter how many times I tell viewers not to use the instrument, they're going to use it. And no matter how many times I tell them it doesn't work, they're going to look at it and be frustrated when it doesn't give them the answer they want. Let's go over each of those instruments starting right now. The first instrument is the Track My IRS tool. What is to be known about that one? One, it's either live or not live. When it's not live, don't sweat it. When it is live, people think, my goodness, it's live. Now I'm going to get all this wonderful information. And then when they go to that and get no information, then they get frustrated. And they think that because there's no information, there's no stimulus check. Untrue. When they see information and the information doesn't line up with what they expect to be happening, then they think they're in trouble. Also untrue. An example is they do find information. The dates are so far in the past that they're worried, my God, it's been a week since that date. I haven't gotten anything. Untrue. The tool is historically inaccurate. So the Track My IRS tool, if you want stress, go look at it. But if you want accuracy, don't use it because it's traditionally been hideously inaccurate. Next comes that next instrument, which is the transcript instrument. How does that work? You can track your stimulus check by going to irs.gov. You go in the website and you set up a username and password. When you're in there, you can track activity under your name, your social security number. The last entry would be economic impact payment or disbursement. And you would see a date with that disbursement. And here again comes the stress level and the false information. Things that happen are sometimes the following. No information, and yet a stimulus check is actually received. People have actually received a stimulus check, and their transcript shows nothing at all. Number 2, the transcript may show a date, and the date may be totally wrong, and people stress out because so many days have now passed since that day is listed in there. And finally, sometimes it doesn't even show anything that makes any sense, and people believe, oh my goodness. Or it shows no information, and people say, oh my goodness, I'm not getting a stimulus check. All untrue. Don't worry, it's not a reliable instrument. So finally, we turn to the last and most infamous instrument of the whole bunch, and you know what it's called. It's called the non-filer filing. Oh my goodness. The non-filer filing is simply no longer with us. It's gone to IRS heaven. The non-filer filing was a very big instrument in spring of 2020 for people who had never filed tax returns could indicate where they were, how they were, and all that and more. And so people who did use it and did get a stimulus check, congratulations. It works. Can you use it again? No, it's not in existence. Do you need to use it again? You can't. But if it worked for you, congratulations. It will continue to be the source of information upon which IRS relies on. If you want to provide IRS information about you, you can't rely upon that instrument to provide it to them because the instrument is no longer with us. And there you go. The best way to provide information to IRS is by a tax return. To which the question arises, can you call people up? No, you can't call people up. I mean, you physically can, but they will have nothing to assist you with. IRS cannot speed it up. If you call them up your local bank cannot speed it up. Calling up your beneficiary system like Social Security cannot speed it up. These are two banks that are communicating electronically with one another. When they communicate electronically with one another, their communications is computer to computer. There's no human involved in the process. When the bank is clearing the funds overnight, there's no bank involved with the process. It's computers. Ultimately, computers take their time. And I want you to have patience as well. Throughout the day, I'm going to have a lot of new recordings and a lot of excitement. And I hope you join me as Mornings LALATE returns at 9 o'clock with 2 hours of programming. Then we're off to noontime with 2 more hours and finally afternoons. And Evenings LALATE is shortly returning to the lineup as well. Thank you for joining me on a big early mornings broadcast. If you have not subscribed, consider subscribing, like this video, and consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Across the land, from the West Coast to the East Coast, there's a lot of exciting news. The financial markets are relatively tame over the weekend, but I'll have the big financial news as Wall Street opens on Monday. I'll have the latest on what's going on with the Treasury yields and the latest what's going on with the securities. As unemployment numbers still relatively remain high, and stimulus is far from over, as forced stimulus is around the corner. Stay with Early Mornings for more, and join me on Mornings LALATE at 9.